Back to Modern Fossil, we're playing Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney.
That's the game.
We don't just play, we do, we live.
And we point out accomplices.
True. You might not help out anyone for their sake. But if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone.
Mr. Wright, it appears you're positively determined to portray the chief as a nice man who likes to lend people a hand.
That's not what I mean.
Very well, then. Who is this person you believe Chief Gant may have helped forge?
No, I said it right.
You did say it right. I don't know why you backed
Forged
up.
evidence.
It's fucking Meekins.
Ah, yeah. We gotcha.
Chief Prosecutor Lana Sky, the defendant?
I believe it's quite obvious in light of the circumstances. Emma Sky fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who would want to help her more than her own sister, Lana? And as for Chief Gant, he would also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. That reason, of course, is self-profit.
Self-profit? What do you mean?
After the SL9 incident was resolved, Lana Sky was appointed chief prosecutor at the prosecutor's office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant.
But how would he profit from all this?
He would be able to use Chief Prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations.
Do you mean to tell me that despite the chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets? Waka waka wada wada? Oh wait, oh. You must be puppeting someone forced to do his bidding, never mind.
Admit it, Chief! You assisted Lana Sky in forging evidence. Your motive? To appoint her as chief prosecutor so you can control her!
Righto, my boy. You have quite an imagination. Let me ask you something.
What?
Do you have any proof of this? That I controlled Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I've done such a thing?
Lana? She's keeping quiet to protect Emma. There's no way she'd testify against Gant.
I'm afraid without any proof, this all amounts to nothing more than mere conjecture.
Unless... that is also what happened in this incident.
This incident? Oh, which one would that be?
Of course I'm talking about the murder of Detective Bruce Goodman. The chief prosecutor has been acting strange throughout this entire trial. Almost as if someone has been controlling her. Worthy, you better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt.
Just what do you mean?
What he means, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the Chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement.
What? Order! 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 I said order! Fools! Mr. Wright, you can't be serious.
Huh?
This is an affront to the highest ranking officer in a law enforcement agency. To accuse the chief of police of blackmail and murder. That is Impossible!
Your Honor, I was merely reiterating what Mr. Edgeworth said in easier to understand language.
It's too late, Mr. Wright. There's no turning back for us now.
Looks like he's the one who's decided to go through with this.
Can you prove this, Mr. Wright? That the chief, a high-ranking officer of the law, is involved in this murder?
Good question.
Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man. And the question is he a criminal? I believe the evidence will tell.
I see. All right, then. Let's see what Mr. Wright's got. And it's better be good. Show us this evidence that ties Chief Gant to the murder of Detective Goodman.
All right. To Detective Goodman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That-
now this is where the evidence thing comes in, right? The evidence room.
Oh, yeah, the key card? Yeah, this. Because that is Gant's number right there.
It is. That's got to be it.
I can present it if you want.
But how does that directly tie to the murder?
Because he was killed there.
He was, but Goodman didn't arrive until 5:14.
That was Jake Marshall using Bruce Goodman's card. We discovered.
Yeah.
We said that before. We said that somebody, Bruce Goodman, entered
Right.
the evidence room with somebody else.
Boom.
This is the ID card list?
Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There was one ID on the list we couldn't determine the owner of yesterday. 777 77 77.
Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that's my card number.
It's your number.
What? How do you know that?
The safe in Chief Gant's office requires a code to open. A 7-digit code.
7 digits? You don't mean...
I'm afraid so, Your Honor. The code was 777 7777. The same as the remaining ID card number on that list. Chief Gant, you enter the evidence room on the day of the crime!
Order! Order! Chief Gant, what do you have to say?
Nothing. The defense's search of my office was in violation of regulations. And I would demand Mr. Wright be punished to the maximum extent of the law. But right now, this court demands an explanation from you about the use of this ID card.
Chief Gant, you admit it! You entered the evidence room on the day of the crime!
What about it? I'm chief of police. Whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom, what's the difference? I can go anywhere I want. Tell me, when you enter the room, were you alone? I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room.
Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you that day, would he?
Of course not. Why would he be? I hadn't seen him in days.
You hadn't seen him in days. Chief Gant, I'm afraid you've just undone yourself. On that day, you had to have met with Detective Goodman.
What do you mean? This trial's purpose is to determine Lana Sky's guilt.
No, it isn't, Your Honor. This trial's purpose is to determine the truth. If Chief Gant met his victim on the day of the crime, Then we need to determine one thing. What transpired during that meeting?
In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm going to have to ask you for evidence. Show us proof that the victim went to meet Chief Gant on the day of the crime.
Yeah, you just need to pay attention to the current case. Yeah, his last item report was for his ID card, you know. That's what they said.
Can only be submitted to the chief of police.
Yep. And that's the day of the murder.
But it's like only half written.
Well, yeah.
So how do we know that he submitted it to him? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this doesn't prove that he actually came in contact with him. Does it?
But why isn't that finished?
Because he fucking killed him.
Why isn't the last item report finished?
Yeah, I know. Like, why isn't it?
But look at it.
Well, because I guess you'd have to fill it out, and then the chief would have to be the one to fill out the rest.
Then what's already filled out?
What?
What's already filled out?
The name? The
Yeah.
date lost?
Yeah.
The day of the murder?
Yeah.
A 5?
Yeah.
And then a scribbled out 9.
Yeah. For what? What is in that box?
It's... Wait. What? What's in what?
What does the 5-9 mean? What is that for?
5-9.
What is he trying to write? Look at it! Look at it! Look at it! What is he trying to write?
5-9. His ID number?
But why couldn't he finish it?
Because he lost his... Because he lost his ID card. That's what his lost item report was.
That's what I told you that.
Okay. So...
I was found at the prosecutor's crime scene.
Huh?
I was at the prosecutor's office, which is not the crime scene.
Okay, so...
So I guess because you can only submit it to the chief of police, then...
Detective Goodman lost his ID card on the day of the crime.
Well, to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it.
So Detective Goodman filled out a lost item report. He would have had to give that report to the chief of police.
Yet you're in possession of the report. Which means you can't be sure if he filed it.
He filed it. How do I know, you ask? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day. He needed to.
That's
Oh, fuck.
There we go.
He needed to.
Shit. Yes, to transfer the evidence out.
Oh.
Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room.
I accompanied him.
There's no other way the murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered the room.
Hold on. Let me guess what you're going to say next. I, the chief of police, murdered poor Goodman.
Exactly.
But wait. The chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him his ID card.
Yes. Now that you mention it, I believe I might have done something of the sort. Sorry, but that's not possible. According to the record, your card was only used once. Like you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really linked it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body.
What the fuck was that?
Chief Kent, you didn't.
The murder was most likely a spur-of-the-moment crime, for no one in their right mind would choose the police department as a place to commit murder. After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body, of course.
You're forgetting, Mr. Wright, that the victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office parking lot. How did they manage to move it there? I was at the police department the entire day, you know. And everyone's aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony.
Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're the chief of police. You have an entire police force at your disposal.
Oh, so you think I just ordered an officer to do it? Hey, you, take this here dead body over to the prosecutor's office. I don't think so.
Chief Gantz, you left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved the body to the prosecutor's office. And all this time I thought it was a useless clue, just taking up space.
How could the chief have moved the body? Mr. Wright, show us this evidence.
To move the victim's body, Chief Gant used this.
The Blue Badger! How could he move a body? Just think of it without thinking about the evidence, okay?
Yeah.
How could you move a body from the police department all the way to the prosecutor's office when it's a 30-minute drive?
When it's a 30-minute drive.
Yeah.
Unnoticed, basically, is the question.
Unnoticed, yeah. What is probably the only way you can do that?
I mean, you have to... Unnoticed.
Yeah.
So you gotta go from the police department to the prosecutor's office parking lot.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I mean, you would have had to put it in Edgeworth's car while he was at the police department, and then when Edgeworth arrived, he unknowingly parked his car with Goodman's body in his trunk.
Okay.
And then he told Lana to open up the trunk.
Yep.
So it's this. He used Miles Edgeworth.
Yeah, but why was Edgeworth at the police department? Actually, you can visit that.
To get this.
No, not that. You can visit that, yes. You're good.
This is how he moved Detective Goodman's body.
A parking stub. Miles Edgeworth.
You mean...
The body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car!
You mean I carried the victim's body?
Precisely so.
But wait, even you know, I didn't plan on returning to my office after the ceremony finished that day.
But you did return. Tell me why?
Ain't nothing but a... Ah! I was asked to go. But Chief got no less. He told me that he wanted me to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here.
So you see, what we were really taking to the prosecutor's office wasn't the screwdriver, but the victim's body in your trunk.
Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth. Ah!
Yes, unless of course you have another explanation, Chief. Why else would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to transport evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation. To transport the body to your accomplice, Miss Lana Sky!
Oh no, what's going on? Yeah, I'm going to... Is there no room for rebuttal to the defense's outrageous accusations?
Think back to the photograph Miss Starr took at the prosecutor's office. This was not a photo of the body being stuffed in the trunk to be taken away. It was exactly the opposite.
It is a photo of the body being taken from the trunk.
Chief Kant, please say something.
I believe. Your time's up.
My time's up.
Sorry, Vito, but I'm having lunch with the District Attorney General after this. We have to get going if we were to make it in time for the early bird special.
But the cross-examination isn't finished yet.
Remember what I told you earlier? A police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal.
Weapons?
Like the right to refuse to testify. I'm invoking that right now.
What? It was not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered.
So you're going to just run away after all this? Run away. So make me laugh worthy. I stabbed old Goodman. That's what you're saying, right? But if you had any conclusive evidence, you would have presented it by now.
Well,
You think I had Lana dispose of the body? If so, then show your proof and get it over with.
I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Damon Gant is the current chief of police. This court will not tolerate any accusations against him without concrete proof. Well, Mr. Wright,
Your Honor?
do you have any concrete proof? Proof that Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman and made Miss Sky dispose of his body?
Do I have any concrete proof? Shit. Concrete proof.
That Gant ordered Lana, or that Gant actually did kill Goodman.
Okay. Oh, man. Okay, ordered her.
Yeah. Because as you said before, the only piece of evidence was the list record, you know? The court record.
Right.
That's the only thing that you said.
Right.
But, once again, it doesn't prove that Gant stabbed Goodman.
No, it doesn't.
So, what are you gonna do? Do you or do you not have evidence?
Do I do or not? What?
Do you or do you not have evidence?
I feel like I don't.
Then say don't.
That he ordered it? I mean, I don't.
Alright, then say you don't have evidence.
It's no use showing evidence and not even sure of myself. No, Your Honor. At present, I have no conclusive evidence.
See, Haji?
In that case, this court is forced to penalize you for your allegations against the chief.
What?
Here's a tip. Never gamble when you can't afford to lose, righto. It seems that Lady Luck was on my side again today. Okay, Haji, I'll leave the rest to you.
I warned you earlier, Mr. Wright. This is an affront to a senior officer in our nation's law enforcement agency.
Ah!
Lady Luck, maybe we should have a word with her.
Mr. Edgeworth, what do you mean?
There's one lady who knows the real truth behind this trial. We haven't yet had the honor of hearing her testimony.
A lady who knows the truth. Another witness.
In the absence of conclusive evidence, the only other method of proof is testimony.
But Chief Gann has invoked his right to refuse to testify.
There's still someone else. One more witness who can answer all the questions raised in this trial. Someone right in this very room.
Mr. Edgeworth, who is this person?
Why are you asking me, Your Honor? Have you forgotten? The defense is the one calling witnesses today.
Mr. Wright, does such a witness exist?
She may not be willing to tell the truth. But we can't just stop now. Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls forth...
Well, she already gave a testimony.
No.
She didn't
She
give
hasn't told us the truth.
Oh, right.
Well, she gave us testimony about the SL9,
But not
this one.
The defendant is not a Sky.
She was in the underground parking lot at 5:15 p.m. on February 21. Her task? To dispose of the victim's body. In accordance with a certain someone's orders.
Mr. Edgeworth?
The prosecution has no objections, Your Honor.
Very well. The court will now take its final recess for the day. In 15 minutes, we will reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. This court is now in...
Hold on.
Huh? Chief Gant! I thought you were going to eat.
Listen, good Lana.
He's talking to Lana.
I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claims, there will be terrible consequences. That's right. Your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder.
This isn't good!
Of course. You'll never support such outrageous claims anyway, right? Just something to think about. Alright then. I've got a lunch date to meet!
Okay, if there aren't any further objections, this court is now in recess.
Looks like we managed to stay in the game.
Yeah, thanks to your help, Edgeworth.
That chief, he's something else, eh, pals?
Detective Gumshoe!
I'm not a detective anymore.
Oh yeah? Sorry about that.
Don't worry. I've already decided where to work now. At your office.
My office?
Sure. I'll take the place of that top-knotted girl you used to work with.
You mean... Maya?
Still, looks like we're all out of moves now. Chief Gant's done it again. How is it he always gets the upper hand?
It's not fair he has the right to refuse to testify.
Settle down, Wright. Remember what the judge said.
But Chief, that is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered.
Risks? What did he mean by that?
It's simple. If the chief refuses to testify, the opposite also holds true. You mean, before visited, it's right to say anything too?
Emma! Are you okay?
Yeah, when I came to, I was in the medical office. I've been listening to the trial from the gallery.
So she heard everything that's been going on. Emma, I'm sorry for what I said before.
No, don't be. It was the truth. You know, it's funny. I almost feel somehow relieved.
Relieved?
Yeah. Now I finally know what really happened. I think that all this time, my sister was being blackmailed by that terrible man. And she did it all just to protect me. Ever since her appointment as chief prosecutor, everyone who knew her said she's changed. Perhaps it was easier that way for her.
What do you mean?
What do you think I mean? The fellow chief grants orders. She must have shut herself up deep inside to force herself to do anything and everything the chief told her to do.
That must be why she became so cold.
It was all my fault. It's all because I murdered Mr. Marshall.
Hey, don't go blaming yourself now. If you want to blame anyone, blame society, pal.
I'm the Joker, baby. Chief can't may be able to fool everyone else with his forgery, but he can't fool my memory. I remember now. I knocked Mr. Marshall into that armor.
I see.
Well, we better get back. It's time for the final act.
Emma, why don't you wait?
No, I'm going with you. I want to be there. When Lana tells the truth. Let's go, Wright. It's time to end this. In the next episode! Tune in next time for the finale of Ace Attorney.
Phoenix Wright.
Indeed. First, I got pissed really badly.
Oh, me too, yeah.
Maybe we'll piss together. We'll cross streams.
Yeah, cross streams. I used to do that with my brother when we were little. We'd pee at the same time.
Yeah.
And we'd say, he would always say, tic-tac-toe, 3 in a row.
Like, you have, like, a competition to see, like, who can last longer, you know? Like,
no, it was just
piss longer?
when the streams would cross, he just thought, tic-tac-toe.
Tic-tac-toe. Alright,
No
take
idea.
care, everybody.
Stay sexy, stay wet.
That sucked. That sucked. There we go. God, you keep on hitting me in the neck and the pulse. Soon you're gonna be drilling into my neck.
Sorry. There you go, sorry about
leave
that.
a permanent scar.